Hi, K-pop lovers. Welcome back to our channel. Before we start, if you're an ARMY, and you've been waiting for this moment for almost 4 years, hit that like button right now. Subscribe if you haven't. Turn on that notification bell. And drop a purple heart in the comments if you cried watching the Arirang concert. Because today, we are talking about the concert that shook the entire world. It was raining. 40,000 people were standing in the pouring rain at Goyang Stadium, South Korea. And not a single one of them left. That alone should tell you everything you need to know about what happened on April 9, 2026. But here's what you might not know yet, what the BTS members themselves said after the curtain fell. Stay with me. Because what they revealed is going to make you cry all over again. Let's rewind. For those who need the full picture, BTS officially went on hiatus in late 2022, as each member began fulfilling South Korea's mandatory military service. One by one, they disappeared from stages they had conquered for nearly a decade. The last to be discharged was Suga, in June 2025, after completing his alternative civilian service due to a prior shoulder injury. And then, on March 20, 2026, the world held its breath. BTS dropped their fifth studio album, titled simply, Arirang. Named after one of Korea's most sacred and ancient folk songs, a melody that carries centuries of longing, separation, and resilience, the very themes that defined BTS's years apart. One day after the album release, on March 21, 2026, they staged a free comeback concert at Gwanghwamun Square in the heart of Seoul, one of the most historically significant public spaces in all of Korea. An estimated 260,000 fans showed up. And the world? The world lost its mind. But that concert? That was just the beginning. Because what happened 3 weeks later at Goyang Stadium, that's where things got deeply, devastatingly emotional. And I want you to stay for this part, because the things the members said that night? Nobody was ready for it. April 9th, opening night of the BTS World Tour, Arirang. 3 sold-out nights at Goyang Stadium, just outside Seoul. The sky opened up and poured rain from start to finish. But here's what was reported from the ground by Billboard, NME, and Korea Times: 40,000 people stayed through every single drop of rain. Not 1 inch of the stadium emptied. The concert opened with Hooligan, a surge of energy, hooded figures cutting through the mist with red flares, an image so cinematic that ARMY immediately flooded social media with the words, "This feels like a movie." Then came the 23-song setlist that moved between their newest album and the catalog hits that built an empire. Mic Drop, Fire, Dynamite, Butter, Fake Love, a song from 2018 that somehow hit harder in 2026 than it ever did before. And then, Body to Body, a track where BTS wove the traditional Korean folk melody of Arirang directly into the architecture of the song. And when 40,000 voices inside that stadium sang that ancient melody together, in the rain, in Korea, reporters from Billboard described it as one of the night's clearest expressions of collective feeling. This wasn't just a concert. This was a homecoming. And now, this is the part you came for. What did the members actually say? Jimin, soaked to his clothes from the relentless rain, turned to the crowd and said, "The past years were such a pain. Not being able to see you." 6 words. And somehow it carried the weight of everything, the silence, the separation, the waiting, that both BTS and ARMY lived through for nearly 4 years. The stadium reportedly erupted. RM, the leader who has always been the voice of the group in moments that matter, addressed the crowd with something even more fundamental. He said, "More than anything, having all 7 of us together is what matters most." After years of solo careers, individual tours, and separate paths, to hear RM say that the 7 of them together is what matters most? That hit differently. And then there's Jungkook, who looked out at the rain-drenched crowd in Goyang and said simply, "I'm glad the weather is better than yesterday." We'll heat things up even more tonight. Classic Jungkook. And the crowd absolutely lost it. But the moment that truly broke ARMY? It wasn't during the concert. It was after. Jin, the eldest member, the first to enlist, and the one who carried perhaps the most visible weight of absence, went on Weverse shortly after the concert ended and wrote, "I had so much fun at Arirang Tour's first concert. I feel comfortable performing as a team and being in the same space with ARMY, so I feel like I'm back home. Back home. After years of military service. After years without a stage. After years of an empty spot in every ARMY's heart." Jin called the stage his home. And he called ARMY the reason it feels that way. If you're not crying right now, I don't know what to tell you. One of the most beautiful things about this concert wasn't the production, though the production was extraordinary. A 360-degree stage designed in the shape of a Gyeongja-style pavilion inspired by Gyeongbokgung Palace. Walls of flame cutting through rain. Thousands of LED lights. Pyrotechnics so powerful they blazed even through the downpour. No. The most beautiful moments were the unscripted ones. RM performed despite recovering from a ligament tear in his ankle, an injury from just 3 weeks before the tour opened. He participated in the idol segment from a traditional sedan chair, unwilling to miss a single moment on that stage. V, while navigating the rain-slicked stage, nearly slipped, then transformed the near fall into an impromptu worm dance. The crowd went absolutely wild. And Jimin, at one point during the performance, deadpanned to the audience that he was soaked to his underwear. 40,000 people laughed. And loved him for it. These are 7 men who have been performing on stages since they were teenagers. Who have sold out stadiums on every continent. Who have topped Billboard charts and earned Grammy nominations and changed what it means to be a Korean artist on the global stage. And yet, in Goyang, in the rain, they were just 7 people who missed their fans and wanted to come home. Let's talk numbers for a second, because the numbers tell their own story. Within just 21 hours of the opening night concert, 2.5 million posts poured onto X from fans across the globe. English, Spanish, Portuguese, Chinese, Japanese. All saying some version of the same thing, "We waited for this." One fan from Mexico, interviewed on-site by AFP, said she had been refreshing ticket pages from Korea, calling it her 80,000th attempt to secure a spot. She made it. A 60-year-old fan proudly called herself a Grey Army, one of thousands who have loved this group across decades, not just years. Fans from Melbourne flew in. Fans from China, from Brazil, from across Europe. For many of them, this wasn't just a concert. It was the end of a 4-year vigil. It was proof that what they believed in, this group, this bond, this music, had survived. Outside the stadium walls, fans without tickets gathered in the parking lot just to hear the muffled audio of the performance from a distance. Korea Times called it the romance of waiting, where absence itself became another form of devotion. And ARMY, the story is far from over. The BTS World Tour Arirang spans 85-plus dates across 34 cities in 23 countries, from April 2026 all the way through 2027. After Goyang, the tour moves to Tokyo. Then North America, Tampa, Los Angeles with 4 nights at SoFi Stadium, Toronto. Latin America, Mexico, Brazil, Argentina, Chile. Europe. Asia Pacific. Australia. Tickets for South Korea, North America, and Europe sold out within hours. This is, by every measure, the largest BTS tour in history. And based on what happened in that rain-soaked stadium in Goyang, the world is not ready. So let's bring it back to where we started. It was raining. 40,000 people stayed anyway. And when the lights went down, and BTS stood together on that stage for the first time in nearly 4 years, 7 members, 1 stage, 1 song, the ancient melody of Arirang filled the air. A song about longing. A song about separation. A song about coming home. Jimin said the years apart were a pain. RM said having all 7 together is what matters most. And Jin said the stage, with ARMY, is where he feels like he's back home. After everything they've been through. After everything we've been through. They came back. And they came back for us. If this video moved you, like it. Right now. It takes 1 second and it means everything. Subscribe if you want to be here for every moment of the Arirang World Tour coverage. We're covering every city, every setlist, every member reaction, and you do not want to miss it. Drop a comment below and tell me, which member's words hit you the hardest? Was it Jimin? RM? Jin on Weverse? And share this video with every ARMY you know. Because this story deserves to be heard. Purple Heart, until next time, you are the universe. Annyeong.